Latest exhibitions. It's quite a big story behind the main show here at the present time. Kat will go into that in detail, I'm sure. Firstly, I'd like to also introduce Olivia's show in the box set. Olivia's outside, I think. Sorry, Olivia. Olivia undertook one of the residencies at the 24-hour art staging studio. When was that? August. And the work that she's presented tonight is in some ways a reflection of her experiences over there. Which brings me to the major show that we're putting on tonight from Pam and Kim. And this show was recently presented at Araluen in Alice Springs. And given the circumstances, I wanted to make sure that we saw this show in Darwin also. So I rejigged the program and got everybody to change their dates and things so that we can make this happen. The show is basically a capturing Pam and Kim's experiences and travels and journeys through the centre of Australia and particularly the Tanami Desert. And for me, I've always thought of artists and their practices as being a journey in any way. But they've obviously got a very strong affinity with the landscapes and the things that are happening in those particular regions. Currently Pam's on pretty much the biggest journey you could imagine in life. And I'll leave it at that and introduce Kath Bowdler. Kath can pronounce the name of the place where she's working at the moment because I can't. But many of you know Kath, and she was also a former director of 24-hour art. So.
Thanks very much, Steve. And yes, this does have a kind of strange familiarity going back a few years. You're going to have to excuse me. I'm going to have to. It's not very long, but I'm going to have to read this speech that I put together tonight. And I'm really, really pleased that Steve's made this effort to have this show here. It's very significant and it's really important. I think that people get a chance to see this work by Pam and Kim. And one of the things that's really interesting in the Territory, and me having been here for a long time and doing this job a while ago, there's a whole bunch of people who are new artists, new people in town who don't know these long histories that have gone on. It's really nice to be able to other artists who've been here for a while to kind of, share some of their histories. And so I'd just like to give a little bit of context for this in a way. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the Larrakia people here, their elders past and present. And I'd like to say that I'm really touched and honoured to have been asked to open this show on behalf of Pam and Kim. Both Pam and Kim have a long history of artists in the Northern Territory, a really long history. Both have had solo shows here at 24-hour art, as well as another collaborative exhibition over a decade ago that some of you will probably remember. Each show that they've put together is basically a result of one of those trips to the Tanami Desert, and that is the deep wellspring going to that country from which they derive their artistic practice. One of the first installations that I ever saw at 24-hour art in 1992, before I was kind of involved in any way, was an exhibition by Kim Mahood. And it was enigmatic and puzzling, and it stayed with me. A year or so later, another exhibition at 24-hour art made an indelible impression. Rawhide, which some of you may remember, was Pam's first solo exhibition. It featured a 6-metre-long drawing across that wall over there, underneath a huge fortress of mulga roots, which she collected from the desert. And over there in this section here was this mob of camp dogs that many of you some people may remember. They toured around the country, actually popping up in public art events all over the place. Their first collaborative exhibition was in 1997, and that image of Kim in a Coolamon-shaped depression round there was in that show. She did Coolamons, and that exhibition was called Anxiety and Desire. And that title sums up the relationship that these artists have with that formidable country out there, inhabited by Aboriginal people that they have long and continuing relationships with. That ambiguous duality is evident in this work here today. The political and personal have always been entwined in their work. Pam Lofts has lived and worked in Central Australia for over 20 years. As well as being one of the NT's most celebrated visual artists, she's a prize-winning illustrator of children's books and the instigator of Watch This Space Artist Run initiative in Alice Springs. Kim Hood is also a significant writer and artist and was in fact brought up on a cattle station in the Tanami Desert called Mumble Downs. She's written about her experiences in a book called, a memoir called Craft for a Dry Lake that won a swag of literary prizes when it was released in 2000. The image of Kim in there pulling the boat around the clay pan made its way onto the cover of that book. This exhibition has a long genesis. I've known both these women for over 15 years now, and they, along with a number of other extraordinary women that I met when I first came to the Territory, are one reason why I stayed. I was so taken when I first met Pam and Kim. They were extraordinary. And it felt like they could do anything. They were those incredible women you find in the Territory. They were talented, courageous and fun. And they've managed to sustain their great creative friendship and artistic engagement over what seems like pretty much half a lifetime. Obscured by light, this exhibition represents an edited extract from hundreds of photographs taken during the artist's joint travels in the Tanami. Woven into a loosely structured narrative, this collaboration pushes the boundaries of their practices and can be seen as a thing that's called a whole work of art. It's a performance, a documentation, a narrative, a collection of works, a lifestyle. On one of their trips, a character slowly started to emerge out there in the desert. Decked out in a midnight blue cocktail dress, violet sunset, tackles the rugged terrain in stilettos and fluffy slippers, searching for an inland sea. Her actions bear witness to a raft of suppressed and ironic exploits. Violet can be seen as a quirky female adventuress striding out among the masculine myths of the interior. She can also be seen as a parody of how inadequate and incongruous we can all feel out in those desert places. Pam came up with the concept of the performance, the choreography, the costumes, and took the photos. Almost 1,000 analogue images were culled, that's a lot of images, over those years, and printed in Pam's signature super-saturated style, this glossy, printed directly onto our aluminium. They're not digital images, they're made from slides. They didn't even have digital images when these people first started making these images. You know, it's a different world, and so it's hard to imagine that that's what they are. Over time, Kim became the model, the performer, and the writer. Over time, the artists began to question their own relationship as white women to that country that they know so well, yet didn't really know at all. The images are redolent with desolation and despair, peppered with humour, absurdity and beauty. The text fragments reveal the confusion and vulnerability of the protagonists, their anxiety and desire. This body of work is a record of journeying that has become part of the way of life and identity of these artists. Travelling through and camping in that country almost every year is their creative practice. It is their creative practice, and it has been their inspiration for all the work that they've done. They embody the notion of the white nomads of the NT, a compelling idea with strong currency at this present time. They, like others, have been unable to resist the nomadic urge, both through the Territory, back and forwards between homes and careers down south, rather like myself. They are theatrical nomads venturing into the vast expanses in kitten heels and cocktail dresses and chicken feet slippers, playfully exploring fantasies along with big ideas, seduced by the country and rebelling against it. It's always been so for white people out there and explorers in that country. I can't put it any more eloquently than Kim when she writes, "Along the dark wires of night come the messages I hide from during the day. I'm mad, I'm lost, I'm afraid." And to finish, just one quote from Pam. The thing is, she found it in the end just by being there at the right time. Sorry.
Next weekend at 5:30 on Saturday, Kim Hood will be here to give a talk about the work. So, thanks, Kathy.
And just in case people don't know Pam, it's been alluded to, but just so it's not just a typical mystery. Pam's very unwell and